The Republican National Committee is reportedly considering some big changes to its nomination process. CNN reported the GOP's 17-member Rules Committee, which has been meeting behind closed doors since August, is advancing proposals that include changing the convention date, potentially moving it up, and streamlining the primary candidate's debate schedule. It's an attempt to better position the primary winner for his or her run in the general election. So what impact will these changes really have? Joining us right now for Q&A is Kirsten Kukowski, Press Secretary for the Republican National Committee. Kirsten, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
So we all experienced the 2012 primary. It was bruising. It was long. Some would say damaging to the eventual nominee. What would these proposed, and we emphasize proposed because they'd have to be ratified by a larger committee, what would these proposed rules potentially do?
Yep, correct. And you're right to clarify that these are just proposals. These are things that this subcommittee is kicking around. They had a meeting a couple of weeks ago here in Washington, D.C., and we're looking ahead toward our next meeting in January, I believe. So there's going to be more discussions, over the holidays and through January until we start, making our way to the actual process of ratifying and making these changes. But basically how this came about real quickly first is obviously, yes, I think after the 2012 general election in November, we really did, a real deep dive into what went wrong last cycle and how can we as a party move forward. We went to listening sessions. We really the chairman heard a lot from the grassroots supporters, obviously, who helped a lot last cycle. And the number one concern was we have got to clean up the primary nomination process,
sure,
convention, the primary process, the debates, etc. So what this is going to do is a couple of things. Basically, it's going to condense the primary nomination process a little bit, actually getting more states involved in a shorter period of time, moving the convention up from August to maybe end of June, beginning of July. We have to work with the July 4th
holiday. Let me cut you off there,
there.
Because that's one thing.
Yeah.
It would be the first time since, I believe, 1948 that it's been that early. So what is the specific advantage of a June convention? Is it the fundraising disadvantage that Romney had last time around?
Yeah, so basically what happened last time is obviously in April we have Romney as our nominee, and he cannot spend his general election fundraising, the dollars that he was raising for the general election, until after the convention, until after he became our official nominee in the beginning of September, end of August. And
sure,
so that really put him behind. And so, obviously now we look at a potential Hillary Clinton nomination or Biden, who I guess could both be kind of incumbents, if you will,
sure,
and they're going to have the same advantage that President Obama had. And so I think that's what we were really trying.
So the idea is to mitigate a little bit of that
candidates
financial advantage. I think Obama had a 3-to-1 advantage in fundraising or in spending over that summer period when Romney was not able to spend. Another one is the debates and sort of shrinking the number of debates. I believe there were 20 in the last primary season. The article talked about a handful of debates and having a tighter control on moderators. So what would that look like? How many? And how do you tighten the control of who moderates those debates?
So this is all very, very much still being discussed. So we tackled some of the convention and the timing of the primary process first. That's a little more detail. There are a little more details in that. The debates, we know for sure we want fewer debates. The past couple of cycles, this last one being one and the one before that, really we saw the number of debates explode. And it was not just debates, but also
sure,
other forums, etc. And so we really want to condense that. I think it's going to be more than a handful. We obviously have to have our candidates out there talking to our voters, being out there discussing so that we can pick the right person for our nominee. But we also need to get a handle on who is going to be asking our candidates questions.
Sure. Well,
so that's what the next step for this subcommittee
that certainly makes sense to me. If someone's throwing haymakers at candidates over the course of months trying to make them look bad, that's not very advantageous to a Republican brand that's attempting to advance a particular point of view. So, well, Kirsten, thank you very much for your time and your insight on this issue.
Of course. Thanks so much.
Well, it's been called the most consequential separation